I've just made a quick video about aux sends. This is my confusing diagram that'll only make sense if you watch that video. So in that video I've got an effects unit and I'm processing lots of different tracks, but what if I only want to process one track for a particular effect that I don't want to apply to lots of things, just one thing? In Logic we know that as an insert effect, and it's because of this. So I've got a very similar situation. I've got my mixer and I've got my effects unit, and my effects unit again has an input and an output. And what I'm going to draw on the mixer is all of the inputs for the various instruments, inputs here. So maybe this one's attached to guitar, this one's attached to keyboard, etc, etc. Whether they're balanced or not doesn't really matter. These are all the inputs. Now you can have, of course, you know, jack inputs, XLR inputs, sometimes they're combi inputs. We're just going to say it's jack. Quite often on a mixer you'll see jack inputs and also another place for you to connect a jack cable. Confusingly, these are called inserts, and then you think, well, input inserts, it's kind of a synonym. You might use the same word to mean, different words to mean the same thing, and it's totally wrong. They're completely different. So what we're going to use is these insert points, hence insert effects, to take the signal and send it to our effects unit. So what happens is you plug something in this insert point, and whatever signal has just come in from the input gets rerouted out of the mixer through the insert to somewhere else, and it's 100% of the signal. It just sends all of it straight away, bypasses the rest of the chain, gets all of the signal and takes it somewhere else. So, well, that's quite good. What we could do is we could plug something in here, take away those signals, put them into the in of our effects unit, have them processed. Here's our controls, come out of the output, and well, where they're going to come back to, we've already got something plugged in here. And we've already got something plugged in here. That's the instrument or the mic or whatever you've got. This input is already being used and the insert is already being used. So you could come back to an aux send, I suppose. Of course, I mean an aux return here, an aux return jack. But then what if you're already using the aux return for other things? And I want it to be an insert effect. And the strange thing that happens is that it comes back into the same jack. And the magic of this is a special cable called a Y cable. So it's called a Y cable because it's got a strand of Y here and then it kind of breaks into two. And then the endings I've kind of magnified here in these pictures because on each end of these it's got a jack connector. So on this side and this side and this side is a jack connector. And this side of the cable plugs into your insert point, comes into here and then is split into two. So you think, okay, right, that's a jack, that goes in there, and actually the jack is this, it's TRS, so it's got a tip, ring, and a sleeve. Easy. So, do the other connectors have tip, ring, or no? Actually, they're just tip and sleeve. They're TS connectors. You think, well, that's strange, is this balanced? Is it unbalanced? What's going on? Well, this is the magic. The tip is plugged into the very bottom of this insert, so it's plugged all the way in. And inside the insert effect, there's different bits of metal that touch this bit and touch this bit and touch this bit inside this this jack point. So you plug it in, and the signals come out from the mixer on the tip, down this cable, down this cable, down this cable, down this cable, and then go down this one. Not down this one, just down to this one on the left. And they go through this tip here into the input of the effects. Process, process, process. Comes out here through this tip, which is plugged right into the middle of this, of course. Goes down through this tip, comes back through here, comes down through this cable, it's rejoined this one, down another strand of wire. These strands of wire are separate within the cable, they're just all housed within the same one. Comes down here, comes back out here, and goes back into the mixer through the ring. So you've essentially got the signals that are dry coming out of the mixer on this tip, going into here through this tip, into here, process, 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 out through this tip. But then when they rejoin this cable and go back into the mixer knows not to listen to the tip because it's already sending stuff on the tip. It receives the stuff on here. Now I don't want to call that wet because actually it's a mixture of wet and dry. That's why we've got a wet and dry mix in our effects unit, because all of the signal comes out here, it all goes into the effect, it gets processed, and then it comes out and comes straight back in here, and the mixer, it's as if nothing happened. It just continues on its merry way down through the fader, down through the pan, and all the other things that are going on the channel strip. So we need the wet dry here. The dry comes down through the tip, into this bit of the cable, back out again, and then this bit, I suppose you could call it the receive. So quite often on a bit of kit, you'll see your input effect on a mixer or a very posh USB interface. You'll see an input and an insert. And quite often they'll say, oh, just remember that tip is send and the ring is receive. They'll quite often write that just to remind you that that's what's going on, and that's the way these weird cables are actually wired. So what's the sleeve doing? Well, the sleeve is ground. It's the common connection that means that the circuit is complete, and it's also the shielding, it's the ground of the cable. So the sleeve is just connected to everything, but this tip is not the same as this tip. This tip becomes the ring of this one, and this tip is the one that's sending all the signals in. And that's how you can have one insert, one effect being used. What does this mean? Well, it means that you've got a lot of flexibility. Of course, you can only use this effect with one channel. You can't use it with several. And this is how insert effects work.